Hi there, thank you so much for joining me today. This video is a 5 looks 1 palette video for the two Milani palettes, the Bold Obsessions and the Most Loved Matte palette. So it's actually a 5 looks 2 palette video. The reason I paired them together is because the Most Loved Mattes is just a bunch of really pretty matte shades. I didn't know if I'd be able to do 5 separate super different, completely different looks with just one palette, and kind of the same for the Bold Obsessions palette. I just figured they're the same formula, just different palettes, and so I thought I would work with all of them for 5 looks, and that way I would have 2 palettes to create 5 completely different looks to share with you, and I think I did a really good job. I know Milani has come out with maybe 1 or 2 other palettes in this packaging, in this formula. I can't speak for the formula of those personally because I've never tried them, but these two I think are really nice. Very happy to see palettes like this in the drugstore with a more affordable price tag. Instead of having to drop like 50 bucks on a palette, you can spend 20 and get a pretty decent one. This one had really beautiful mattes. They were very blendable. You'll see throughout the video I very much sing the praises of these mattes, and most of the shimmers were really nice. I would say my favorite shimmer shade is definitely the Blazing Hot shade. It's kind of like a pinky orange shimmer, gorgeous. This gold right above it in Gold Getter is a little bit harder to work with because it's a little bit chunkier, still very beautiful. When we're looking at just like satin shimmery shades, these two shades right here, Sands of Time and Suede Side to Side, are beautiful everyday shades for me. I even played around with this navy blue and silver here, which I don't normally play with. I'm wearing those on my lids today for look number 5, and I'm just very happy to have these in my collection. I think they're beautiful, and they're definitely palettes that I will play with again in the future. So let's just get started with the 5 looks. So to start, I do have my eyebrows filled in, and I do have eyeshadow primer from Urban Decay on my lids. First, I'm going to go in with the shade Fancy Vanilla from the Most Loved Matte palette. I'm going to put it on a flat brush from Wet n Wild, and I'm just going to use this to set my primer. It's just a touch lighter than my skin tone, so I think it works really well to set my lids. Next, I'm going to go in with the shade Bear in Mind from the Bold Obsessions palette. I'm going to put that on a fluffy brush. This is the Morphe M433, and I'm just going to run that in my crease. It's technically a satin shade, but the sheen on it is very subtle, and so it's definitely something I still feel like I can put in the crease, and it's just kind of acting as a very light transition shade. I'm going to go back to the Bold Obsessions palette with the same brush, the M433. I'm going to go to the shade Toast of the Town, and I'm going to kind of deepen up that crease shade just a little bit. And because I have more heavier lids, more deep set eyes, I am going to use that color and kind of push it up really close to the brow. If you have more noticeable creases, if you don't have such deep set eyes like I do, you probably don't need to carry it up as high. But for me, in order for it to be visible, I kind of need to pull it up pretty high, because when I look ahead, it kind of gets lost a little bit. I'm going to go back in with that Fancy Vanilla shade and that same flat brush, and I'm going to kind of go into the inner corner a little bit. I kind of carried that crease shade a little bit too far out. I'm going to use the shading brush from Real Techniques, and I'm going to grab the shade from the Most Loved Mattes palette in the shade Umber the Sun, and I'm going to take a little bit of that, tap off the excess, and just pat that on the outer half of my lid. I will say I do think that these shades blend really beautifully. Now for the start of the show, I'm going to go in with the shade Blazing Hot from the Bold Obsessions palette. I'm going to use this liner brush from Essence, and I'm going to grab a little bit, spray it with the Ofra setting spray, and then use that to create a liner, a very thin liner on my lid. Then I'm going to take the shade Sands of Time from the Bold Obsessions palette, and I'm just going to put that on the inner corners. I kind of want to add a touch more depth to my creases, so I'm going to go in back with the Bold Obsessions palette with the shade Sweet as Honey. I'm going to grab that M433 brush again, and I'm just going to kind of add a little bit more to the creases. Alright, I'm going to put the rest of my face on, and I'll get back to you when I have the final look. Okay, so the rest of my face is on and my hair is dry. Now for final touches, I already did it on one eye, but I'm just going to go back in with that Blazing Hot shade, back in with that liner pencil, and just put this on the lower lash line as well, just to add a little bit more of like a pop so you can really see that color. Of course, if you're worried that this color will make your eyes look more red or maybe make you look a little bit more sickly, you can definitely take a brown or black liner and put that in your waterline on the top and bottom, and that will kind of separate the color from your eyeball and make it look less red. I think that's a bit too heavy for what I'm going for right now. I think it looks okay. It does in real life at least. So I think I'm just going to keep it like this. I paired it with a more gold, pinky gold highlighter and with a more orange kind of pumpkin colored lipstick. Of course, I went in with mascara. If you wanted to add wing liner, you could too, but I think kind of just letting this beautiful pinky orange metallic shade kind of steal the show is really helping, and I think it's bringing out my eye color as well. Just to be a little bit extra, I am going to go back in with that Sands of Time, that beigey champagne shade, and put that in the inner corner. I think that kind of got taken away a little bit while I was doing my concealer and everything. And this is the final look. I hope you guys like it. I really love how it turned out. I love this shade. Alright, so I have my base on, and for today's look, for look number 2, I kind of want to do more of an everyday look, as opposed to the first look that I did was a lot more playful, played with a lot more of a bright color. This one is going to be playing with a beautiful, very light bronze color. It's right here on my finger. It is called Suede Side to Side. I've been wearing this quite a few times this past week, and I just really like it for an everyday look. And it's quickly becoming one of my most used shades in the palette, which, you know, I don't usually go for bronzes like that very often, so kind of want to just play with that today and show you how I wear it. So I'm going to start with a transition shade. I'm going to grab this Morphe M441 brush, go into the shade My Daily Latte, and it's a very light brown color. Like, very easily just a very slight transition shade for me. So I'm going to go in with that and just kind of messily throw this into my crease as a very light transition shade. Then I'm going to go into the shade Catch a Tan. It's a little bit more of like a warmer, deeper color, and I'm going to kind of use that in the outer third in the crease just to deepen it up a little bit more and make it a little bit warmer. I said it in my last tutorial and I'm saying it again, I do really like how the mattes blend from this Most Lip Mattes palette. Okay, I'm going to grab this luminous concealer brush from Cosmetics. It's just a flat shader brush. I'm going to spray it with the Ofra setting spray. I'm going to dip into that Suede Side to Side shade and just put that all over the lid. I think I'm just going to go in with my finger and tap on top just to make sure I'm getting full capacity. And the Suede Side to Side shade is from the Bold Obsessions palette. Sorry, I didn't mention that earlier. I'm going to go into this darker, more cool-toned brown matte at the bottom of the Bold Obsessions palette. It's in the shade Brunettes Have Fun. And I'm just going to put that on the outer corner just to make sure it's a little bit deeper. I'm going to go back in with that Morphe M441 shade and just make sure that the crease is blended. I probably could afford to go in with a smaller blending brush, but I'm not going to. Next, I'm going to go into the Most Lip Mattes palette, grab the shade Toast of the Town on a little flat shader brush. This is from Morphe, the M508, and I'm just going to very lightly put that shade on the lower lash line. Then I'm going to wipe off that Real Techniques purple brush I used earlier, and I'm just going to grab that champagne shade Sands of Time from the Bold Obsessions palette and just put that on the inner corner of my eye. Now I'm going to curl my lashes. Put the Milani Stay Put Waterproof Eyeliner in the shade Hooked on Espresso in my upper lash line and put on a coat of mascara. Okay, so I put on a red raspberry kind of lip. I used the lip liner from NYX in the shade Red Tape, and then I used Merlot from Dose of Colors. I think it does have a slight warmth to it with that warmer crease shade, but I do think that with this bronzy shade, you can really make it more of a cool look or warm it up a little bit. I like that you can, it's kind of right in the middle, maybe more of a neutral tone, so you can kind of play with it. And this is my second look. Okay, so I kind of want to mostly grab from this middle row here in the Most Lip Mattes palette with these purples. I have the Urban Decay Ultimate Ozone Multi-Purpose Primer Pencil. I have this all over my lids, and I'm going to take that top shade right here in the middle called Come Up Roses. And I'm just going to use a flat shader brush from Wet n Wild to put that all over the lid to kind of set that primer. Oh wow, that's dark. That came up darker than I thought it would. Huh. I'm going to do that on the other side just to keep it all consistent, but then I'm going to kind of go in with a fluffy brush and grab the lighter shade next to it. So if you look at the shade in the middle, it looks completely different on my lid. Doesn't that seem weird to you? It doesn't look light pink to me. It looks like it's pulling very peach. That's very odd. I'm going to grab the shade Fancy Vanilla, this light shade right in the corner. I'm just going to take a fluffier brush. This is the Morphe M433, and I'm going to kind of go over that a little bit to lighten it again. Woo. However, I think it'll make a good transition, so I'm going to grab that Come Up Roses again with that same M433 brush, and I'm just going to gently smear that all over the crease. I don't know why I said smear. And just to deepen it up on the outer corners, I'm going to take the shade right below it in Bust a Mauve with that same brush, and I'm just going to focus on the outer corners and add a little bit more depth to that outer third. Then I'm going to grab the Real Techniques shading brush, and I'm going to grab the third shade down in the shade No Plum Intended. Cute. And I'm going to just dab that on the outer thirds. I think this is the third time in a row that I'll say it, but I do like the way these mattes blend. I think that they are very blendable and easy to build. I like the formula of these a lot. I might dip into Bust a Mauve and No Plum Intended just a little bit, kind of mix them a little, and then go back into the outer third of my crease again just to make sure it's all blending together. Next, from the Bold Obsessions palette, I'm going to grab the shade Sands of Time. It's just a pretty kind of goldy champagne shade. I'm going to just grab that with my finger and put that on the first half of the lid. Look how pigmented that is. It's beautiful. And I will take the Real Techniques shading brush and the shade Bust a Mauve, and I'm going to just kind of use that to blend right where the matte shades and that shimmery shade meet. Then I'm going to fill in my brows, clean up the edges, put on concealer and foundation, the rest of my makeup, and I will be back. Alright, I put some of the Milani Kajal liner in my upper lash line, and I put on some mascara. Now I'm going to go back in with the Bust a Mauve shade and the No Plum Intended. I'm going to use this Morphe M508, just a really small flat shader brush. I'm going to mix those two shades and just put that on the lower lash line. Then I'm going to use that same brush, kind of wipe it off on my pajama pants right now, and go back into that Sands of Time shade from the Bold Obsessions palette. I'm going to put that on the inner corner a little bit, and I'm also going to take a little bit of that and put it right underneath the iris on the lower lash line, just right there. And then of course I'll go back in with that Bust a Mauve shade with that same brush and kind of just go around it so that it's a little bit more seamless. So for the lip, I used the NYX lip liner in the shade Sugar Glass, and on top of that I used Stone from Dose of Colors. I do like this look a lot. It's a little more purpley. I love it with this Stone liquid lip. I tried some face products from the brand Meow Cosmetics. They have 86 different foundation shades, but I really like how it all came together. I like this color scheme a lot. I love that shade Sands of Time with those purples. I think they complement each other really well. I think it's a really nice look. I like it a lot. And that is look number 3. For look number 4, I want to play with this orange shade called Hiking in Sedona. And I also want to play with this gold shade called Gold Getter. I already have concealer on my lids as primer, and I set it with this shade right here called Can't Pink Straight. And I'm just going to go in with that Hiking in Sedona shade, that orange shade, with this Instapop shade brush from Real Techniques. I'm just going to grab a little bit of that and put that all over the lid. I'm going to grab an Essence eyeliner brush, go back into that same shade, and put this all over the lower lash line. Then I'm going to go in with the shade You're a Peach from the Most Loved Mattes palette, just with a really fluffy, soft brush. I'm just going to go in and softly blend out those edges. I'm not pulling it outward, I'm not pulling it up super far, just a little bit. Then I'm going to go in with the Instapop crease brush from Real Techniques. I'm going to grab that dark brown shade in the Most Loved Mattes palette called Chocolate is Life. And I'm going to put that on the outer third. Then I'm going to go in with my middle finger in that gold shade in Gold Getter. I'm just going to put that on the very end. Oops. Okay, there's like a crap ton of fallout on that gold shade. Okay, be careful. I'm going to go back in with that Instapop shade brush and just very lightly blend that gold in. I'm going to go in with a clean eyeliner brush from Essence. I'm going to go back into that gold shade and put it in the very bottom. Not exactly like a loose glitter, but it's very similar. Lots and lots of fallout on the shade. It's really pretty. It's difficult to work with a little bit. Off camera, I'm going to put the Milani Supreme Kohl Kajal eyeliner in the shade Black is Black in the upper top lash line and in the lower lash line as well. Okay, so to finish off the look, I added the Kohl Kajal liner. I put on a coat of the Essence mascara, and then on my lips I used the Sugar Glass lip liner from NYX and the Ofra liquid lipstick in the shade Americano. But I really like this combo. I love the orange and the gold. The gold has a ton of fallout. I'll have to be much more careful with it. There was like gold, just straight up gold underneath my eyes. But in general, I like this look. I especially like it with my olive green tank top. I think they complement each other nicely. I did also add the Melt highlighter in the shade Stargazer. I have that on my cheeks today. I think it's really pretty. So this is look number 4. So I already have my base on for look number 5. Now I want to play with some shades that I haven't used yet in this video, but also shades that I really don't ever use, and that is this quad right here. It's more of like a cool toned quad. This silver and this navy blue and this black. I kind of want to play around with them today, create like a very cool toned smoky eye, and then probably pair it with like a nude lip. I probably should have done my eye makeup first and then my foundation because I have my whole face on, and I'm assuming that navy blue and this black are going to have a little bit of fallout, so I'm just going to be as careful as I can. I'm going to go in with this transition shade right here. It's called My Daily Latte. It's kind of like a neutral shade, a little bit darker than my skin tone. Then I think I'm going to go in with that same brush and grab that purple transition shade, Bust a Mauve. And when I say transition shade, I mean for my skin tone. I think I'm taking my sweet time because I'm just nervous to just go in with that dark navy blue shade. But I'm going to use this Wet n Wild flat shader brush and go in with that navy blue, that shade Smoke Signals. I'm just going to put like a little bit on and really gently build it. And I'm going to put this on the outer half of the lid. I didn't even put that much on my brush, and it still came out very pigmented. So that's nice. But still, something I feel like I'm going to be able to build. I'm going to go back in with a smaller blending brush, the Morphe M433, and I'm going to kind of mix that silver and navy shade and just bring that a little bit up in the crease, just a little bit. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. I don't really work with blues and silvers very often, so hopefully this look turns out okay. I'm going to take the other side of that shading brush, grab that silver, and put that on the inner corner. So it's not showing up a ton. It's not giving like a great payoff. I might wet this. Yeah, I'm going to wet it with the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. I'm going to go in with my finger in that silver shade. That's called Slate All Day, by the way, if I didn't mention it. Just going to go over with my finger. I'm going to go back in with the darker side of that Wet n Wild brush, go back in with that navy shade, and just add a little bit more to the outer edge. Then I'm going to go in with that larger fluffy brush, go back in with My Daily Latte, and just kind of run that in the crease. Then I'm going to go in with this Morphe 508 brush, and I'm going to grab out that Bust a Mauve shade again, that transition shade. I'm going to put that on the lower lash line. Then I'm going to go in with this Supreme Cool Jaw Liner by Milani, and I'm going to put this in the upper lash line and the lower lash line as well. This is so hard to do on camera. I might do it off camera. Then I'm going to curl my lashes, and then I'm going to add some liquid liner on the top lash line. I realize in the 4 looks I've done so far I haven't used liquid liner at all, so I'm going to use the NYX Epic Ink Liner. This is hard to do on camera, but I'm going to try. I'm going to go in with an Essence liner brush and that black shade from the Bold Obsessions palette in the shade Little Black Dress, and I'm going to go over the liner on my lid. I have very watery eyes, and I find that putting a powder over the liner kind of keeps it from smudging, and also it helps kind of blend out any mistakes I made. Next I'm going to put on first the LA Girl Double D mascara. I'm going to use it kind of like an eye primer, like an eyelash primer. It really doesn't give any volume, it just kind of like tints the lashes, and you know, it really doesn't do much for length either. It just kind of separates them and coats them a little bit. See, it really like makes very little difference. Then I'm going to go in with my Essence Lash Princess mascara. I wonder if I should add some to the lower lash line. I really never do that. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to go in with that LA Girl Double D mascara and just put a little bit on the lower lash line. Now I'm going to grab my Beauty Blender. It still has a little bit of concealer left on it from when I was doing my face, and I'm just kind of go over it and kind of blank out my lips a little bit. I think I'm going to go with the Jordana Creme Brulee liquid lipstick. Also, I cut my hair. I took off quite a few inches. So this is the 5th and final look. Let me know which look was your favorite. But in the meantime, that's everything I have. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!